So how else are we supposed to look at into this proposed policy legislation? Hindi naman tayo talaga expert dito, but we have specific criteria for evaluating a public policy proposal. Una-una, yung tingnan natin yung anti-terrorism bill on the criterion of effectiveness. Will it be able to reduce violence in Mindanao? Will it be able to provide the appropriate mechanism and structures in the region, which is often the most affected community in the counterterrorism actions? Will it help um, improve governance and administration of our policies at the local level? Mean, Meaning to say, in the absence of local peace process between the government and the communist group, is there an effective mechanism where dialogues and community consensus are being developed and breached at the grassroots level? Uh, will there be sharing of power? Will there be sharing and helping in transition processes? Will there be recognition of legal, democratic, and political processes also, um, as a way of resolving the conflict situation in the country? Because as you see, this is not counterterrorism. It's not just supposed to be uh, uh, an exchange of bullets in the battlefront. It's supposed to be also constructive dialogues of people and engaging them in the development aspects to ensure that um, yung people's participation is integrated into the um, mainstream process of um, putting an end to conflict or in social transformation. And then, yeah, pangalawa, dapat we need to look at the policy mm, on the criterion of efficiency. Pag sinabi natin criterion of efficiency, mm, it's going to be a measure of achievement sa program goals and or the benefits in the relationship to the costs. Um, Largely, everybody knows that any policy legislation is also about resource management, is also resource allocation. So, will the costs that would be allocated for this policy to ensure that it would be effectively implemented at the community level would be sufficient to provide the necessary protection and approaches required by the constituents. Pangatlo is yung criterion on equity. What do we mean by this? In equity is yung fairness, in sense of justice in the distribution of the policy's cost. Yung kasali na din yung sa benefits tsaka risk across the population subgroups. In a sense, parang yung karapatan would be ma-enjoy ba yung civil rights would be enjoyed by everyone, no? Kahit na yung suspected members or suspected elements. Kasi sa batas naman natin, we are ensuring that there is due process that should be given for all suspects. Yung sa criterion on liberty and freedom, ito bang anti-terrorism policy ay um, has a certain extent to which public policy restricts or extends privacy and individual rights and choices. Um, alam naman natin na kasali na dito yung mga proposed national identifications cards, restrictions ng uh, mga possibly internet use, restriction dun sa property rights, and other policies that may regulate our um, normative na yung normal natin na ini-exercise as human beings or as constituents of the republic. So, yung titingnan kung how this policy would impact on our freedom as individual, including the how it impact to individual ideological beliefs. Kasi pag sinabi mo namang ideologue ka, it doesn't necessarily mean na sa mga radical or extremist organization. You may be an ideologue to such social transformation or to a democratic reform, but not necessarily advocating a violent means to change the governmental system. And the next, dapat tinating tingnan yung political feasibility ng policy. Um, well, I think for the administration, talagang tanggap naman nila itong policy proposal. Pinagdidiinan na nga nila eh. Gusto na nila na itong maipasa. But we need also to determine the controversial aspect of the policy, especially matters relating to gun control, matters on immigration, matters on uh, research, particularly mga mm, biochemical researches, or matters on resource um, extractions and sharings. Kasi nandito nagsisimula yung conflict on resources. Often nag-i-interlink siya dun sa conflict of politics, and in the end parang ang dami ng papasok na uh, sa dami ng conflict, sa daming disagreements on the use of resource and allocation. um, Pag hindi naagapan yung conflict, nag-burst, nag-escalate siya, and eventually pop out na parang uh, wow, um, ang magnitude ng violence na nakikita natin in the end. So, dapat tingnan siya in that context also. The other criteria na dapat natin ding busisiin is yung social acceptability ng policy. Hati ang ating um, constituents about the policy. Those who are favoring the government positions are very vocal naman that they want this policy immediately legislated. But for those who are very rational, logical, and are still digging into the context of the policy, talagang ina-assess ang content nito. Lalo na't ang masyadong komplikado at complex ang ating um, current na circumstance ng bansa. And then let's also look into administrative feasibility, the likelihood that the department or the agency that will be tasked for this will be truly able to implement the policy well. May kakayanan ba? May kapasidad ba? Uh, Kailangan ba ng expansion ng mga duties, and kailangan ba ng mga bagong policy or approaches or technologies to respond to the complicated institutional structures of anti-terrorism drive. So many things to look into. And then yung isa pang criterion ay yung technical feasibility. Here, we wanted to look into the availability and reliability of technology needed for policy implementation. Well, of course, meron tayong DIC, and then meron tayong internet infrastructures. Pero hindi naman ganun talaga ka kalakas yung infrastruktura natin that would be able to compete with the rest of the neighbors within the region. Yung sa paggamit pa natin ng internet, ang dami na natin problema. How are we um, able to monitor, capture, and yung immediately have an assessment of a situation using the technology, especially for suspects na um, involved into um, international crime. So parang masyado pang komplikado, and I didn't see how effective the government agencies would be able to put across their or to materialize all these things. So Ah, ilan lang ito sa mga bagay na kailangan pang busisihin. Mayroon pang mas mahalaga pa nito na dapat din na magiging kasali dun sa basihan sa pag-assess how how relevant or how effective would this policy would be to our lives.